Path of Exile 2 is brutal, complex, but extremely rewarding once you figure out how to play the game. I made plenty of mistakes early on, and if I could go back in time, those are the 10 things I wish I knew before I get started. If you like this video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe if you haven't. Let's get to it. All right, first things first, let's talk about currency / items. This is, if you already play PoE, probably you already know the basics of this, but let me just throw that out there for the folks that are really picking up the game. When we talk about currency, those are the different types of currency. The only type of currency that I'm missing here, it would be a Chaos Orb. Let's also simultaneously talk about the items and how you make items better in this game. There's 4 different types of items, item rarity or item category, if you will. The white ones are basic items. You will get these early on everywhere. Like most of the item drops that you are gonna get while you're doing your campaign are gonna be white and blue items. There's like white, blue, yellow, and orange, right? Those are the categories that go up. So white would be a base item. Blue would be an item that already has 1 or 2 modifiers on it. Then a yellow item would be already considered a rare item, and this can have from 3 to 6 modifiers on it. Now let's talk about how you actually make an item, or how you could make an item better. And let's talk about also modifiers, prefixes, and suffixes, right? So first of all, let's talk about the currency. Orb of Transmutation would take a white item, would add a modifier to it, and turn it into a blue item. This is the first currency I've used. Orb of Augmentation is going to take this magic item and add a new random modifier. Currently, this modifier is Chaos Resistance. This is a suffix. You can already remember resistances, elemental resistances, whether this is fire resist, cold resist, lightning resist, or chaos resist, are always going to be suffixes. Within suffixes, the more you play the game, you'll already remember that, you know, attributes like strength, intellect, dexterity, those are always also going to be suffixes. To add on top of this, once the item is yellow, so it's a rare item, there can be only 3 affixes and 3 suffixes, right? So let's build these boots. I'm just going to slam these boots as if I was about to craft them. Right now I'm going to augment it and add one more stat to it, and it rolled a prefix. Now we have a prefix and chaos resistance. The next step that I would do is use a regal orb, and this is going to take the blue item and turn it into a yellow one and add 1 more modifier. And we got a 10% lightning resistance. This already has 2 suffixes and 2 resistances, which is not bad, right? This is not bad. This particular one is garbage, but this is how you would look into items and whether this is good or bad. Resistances are always well. Once you have a yellow item, a rare item, you can use exalted orbs to add more modifiers until you cap it out on modifiers. So this is what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to add 1 exalted orb. This exalted orb now gave us 40% increase armor and evasion. Adding 1 more, now we also have reduced attribute requirements, and we can add 1 last one, max HP, max life. These boots now have 3 suffixes and 3 prefixes. Now, depending on the item, the prefixes and suffixes are the suffixes are almost always same, except for the difference between armor pieces and weapons. The prefixes are usually also things that can either boost your DPS, your movement speed, or just add like general rarity to the item. Once you start playing the game, you'll just remember what are the usual prefixes that you see and what are the suffixes that you see. On top of everything, I would like to show you also a website, and this website is called Path of Exile. Once you start building or crafting your own items, so let's say I have boots, and just pick any particular boot right now. So here are the prefixes and suffixes that are actually available for a dex rolled boot. So over here as prefixes, we could have base rolls. Base rolls would be increased evasion rating, movement speed, evasion rating, maximum life, maximum mana. Suffixes over here, you have obviously, again, like I mentioned already, all the resistances, a few attributes are available, and so on. In here, you can actually import a particular item, and you can already see what are going to be the prefixes and suffixes that you can have on this weapon. So this is really, really useful if you would just want to play around and simulate and look into possible options when you craft. I'm gonna leave this website in the description below. Now, since we understand a little bit more the items, I want to touch on the second topic, which would be, in my opinion, also very interesting and very important, is always try to resistance cap your character. Now, here is an example of a not capped character. I'm extremely strong. I'm one-shotting almost all the content in the game. That's why I'm not worried about capping my resistance. But if you're early on in the game, if you're running through the campaign, you always want to be as close as possible to a resistance cap. A resistance cap is fire, cold, lightning. The resistance cap that you can have is 75%. Even if you mouse over the resistance cap, it will tell you that the cap is 75%. However, it is always better, especially once you get to endgame mapping, it is always better to have a little bit above that. Anything up to 90%, if it's a little bit over cap, then 75%, about 90% is ideal. Now, the reason why you would like to have a slightly over cap is because certain maps will actually remove resistance from you. And to just give you a very, very simple example, here is a tier 15 map, just has minus 13% player resistance. It's a little bit more than this. So 13 became 16%, right? So depending also on the modifiers that you have from different tablets, depending on the map, depending on the node that you're going to be running, you might have additional percentages on top of the map that you have. The third tip that I would give early on in the game is get as soon as possible a loot filter. Now, the loot filter, there is different loot filters out there. The most popular one that most of the people are using and is being pushed out to consoles as well right now is NeverSync's filter. The link will be in the description below where you can set up NeverSync. Released one filter early on in the release of early access. Now he also introduced different levels of this filter and improved it a little bit. Just to give you an example, once you move more towards endgame, you actually want to filter out a few of the things. Let me just go and show you. Over here you have a bunch of white base items that I'm not interested in. Once you get more towards endgame, you could actually use the more strict filters over here. On the strict ones, you can already see the white base items disappeared. On a semi-strict, nope. Regular, nope. Soft, there you go. You see these, right? I have my own filters over here. You can also, by the way, make your own filters. All right, the next tip that I can give you, and it's a little bit of an odd one, but Standard League is the league to start with as a new player. It will give you the option to trade. You can always visit the website, the trading website. I'll leave you the link below if you don't have this one. And you can look for item upgrades. It's pretty easy to use. I actually do have a trading tips and tricks video. It will be over there, and you can watch this video. I will give you just a few simple tricks on how to easily look for items, price check items, and sell items. Standard League gives you this opportunity. It gives you the opportunity to just have a faster progression in the game due to the fact that you can actually go and buy the things that you need. Self-found, on the other hand, obviously is going to be way slower, because you need to craft or find everything by yourself. Since I've been spending 2 months playing the Standard League, trying out different classes, looking for what I like or dislike, now I do have a better understanding of, okay, I understand the systems, I understand the crafting system, the grinding system, I understand now the different types of classes and approaches of building a character. So yesterday was actually the very first day when I made my very first hardcore SSF character. And I'm gonna tell you, I already died. level 8. That's was my first stat on one of the bosses. Now this character is just a standard SSF character, which means that I continue on the fresh journey with the fresh economy, empty stashes. I can continue on playing this character, or I just go back and make a new hardcore one and, you know, go again and again and again. This is a mode in the game that is going to take you way more time. So my advice is try standard first, learn the classes, learn the systems in the game, and once you feel comfortable, give yourself the challenge to do that in SSF. The next tip that I can give you is some passives are a little bit more valuable than they look. Sometimes you'll see passive like 1% increased attack speed per 15 dexterity, right? At first it seems like that's not much, right? That's not a lot. But when you build a stat stacking character, and when you count and when you divide by 15, divided by 15, that's 38% attack speed for myself, just because of this passive. So sometimes when you're looking into passive skills in this passive skill tree, some nodes don't make much sense. Another interesting node that I would love to touch on, for example, would be acrobatics. You can evade all hits, but you lose 70% of the evasion. Now, this is an interesting passive. It sounds nice and juicy, but it's also a trap for new players. The reason why I'm saying this is a trap for new players is that this one particularly starts to work very well once you have from 15k and above evasion, 15,000 and above evasion. Well, in my case, this is not gonna be the case because I only have 1800 evasion, and if I'm about to use this passive skill, for example, I'm going to kill myself because I'm not gonna have enough evasion to sustain it. So the passive skill tree in general is a very, very interesting topic, and in my opinion, this is also the bread and butter about PoE too, is that you can have so many approaches. You can build one character in so many different ways only because of the passive skill tree. And believe me, in the beginning, it will look like a clusterfuck. You'll say, all right, what the hell? This is too much. This is too much for me. But once you start actually playing the classes, and I've played monk, so I'm familiar with this side of the tree. I've played ranger, so I'm familiar with this side of the tree. I already see where I can find attack speed, where I can find dexterity, where can I find evasion. Once you play the game a little bit more, you'll feel obviously a little bit more comfortable by doing your own builds. But there is nothing wrong for you to follow one of the creator builds. There's millions and thousands of creators out there that make builds, and you can always just guide yourself watching what they're going for, but never take a build for 100% must follow build, because your situation is going to be slightly different than the situation of the creator that they had when they were building this character. Different items, different, experience in the game in general, different play styles. So use guides for reference. Use passive skill trees that people have built just for reference, and build your version around it. But with that being said, like some skills don't seem as huge as they are, right? Like I said, for example, this one, 1% increase per 15 dexterity doesn't seem a lot, but for me it's actually 38%. And imagine I actually go I can go, in terms of dexterity, I can go close to 850, 900 if I really invest into my character. And this is obviously going to give me even way more attack speed. And why this build that I'm running is extremely good: I have another 15% attack speed on my weapon. I have another increased attack speed per 5 dexterity. So just my weapon and this passive over here are increasing my attack speed to an extent where I just simply fly around through the map. That's it. It's that simple. But this particular case, this particular character is a stat stacker. I also have one of the rarest items in the game. I was extremely lucky to get one of these. So yeah, it's just some passives, or don't take them with a grain of salt. Just do a little bit of research on the passives before you commit to some. Okay, one of the next tips that I can give you, not always all the skills need to be maxed out in terms of gems, in terms of gem slots, and investments overall. My main skill is Tempest Flurry on this character, and this is this skill over here, right? But my supporting skill are as important. I'm using 2 heralds. I just recently put a 5th slot on this one. However, even these 2 heralds with only 3 slots on them were good enough for me as a starter. This over here is just additional investment that I'm doing. This one over here, Storm Wave, is not my main skill. However, it still does a lot of decent damage, but it's not my main skill. My main skill is Tempest Flurry. So when you're building a character, look for what is your main skill that you need to level up and max out first, and then look what are the secondary skills that you need to actually also invest in, but not as fast as you need to level up your main skill. Once you start playing the game a little bit, and you will run into items that are going to give you plus to your skills. In this particular build, in this particular character, I'm not using any of these items and weapons in general, but I just want to give you a example why this is not always good. Gives me +3 to all level skills. Early in the game, when you're level 30, 40, you're still running through the campaign, when you pick an item that actually gives you plus the desired skill or level, then this makes sense. This will add you a little bit more damage if you're playing, for example, a monk, and if you have Ice Strike level 10, if you equip this, it's going to be level 13. So that means automatically you're going to do a little bit more damage. That's great. However, this is not very good. This is not very, very important or a great of a stat once you hit end game and once you roll different skills. The reason why I'm telling you this is the higher you go on your skills, on your gems, the more mana they're gonna cost. So just for reference, this is a level 19 Tempest Flurry. It's not even level 20, level 19, and it costs 43 mana. But let's put just this for reference. Just for this for reference, it went to level 22, and instead of 40, how much was it? 43 mana, this skill, just by 3 levels, this skill now costs 61 mana. Now, this is a pretty shitty staff. This is just a +3. They can go up to +6, +7. +7, I've never seen. No, I've seen +7s. They can go to +4, +5, +6. Just imagine the impact on the mana requirements. Just a simple +3 increased my mana from 40 to 60, while +6 is gonna be a very significant, difference. So in some cases, be careful with this stat. It is not as important. It is important and helpful early on in the game, but later on in the game, you want to have decent mana sustain so that you can continue on using always your skills. Another tip that I can give you is don't underestimate, particularly the gambling vendor, which you have available in any of your town if you have enough gold. And once you hit end game, once you start running maps, you can always spend these to gamble for either amulets or rings or belts, whatever you need. Usually people do this in order to try their chance to get a very rare ring or amulet. But if you play Standard League, you can also obviously make decent amount of money if you get any nice rolls in there, or it might be also an upgrade for you. So over here, if you just check, you might find some very, very interesting items. You never know, they might have some interesting stuff that they're selling. Level +3 to all projectiles, right? This might be, here is an example of smash it, see if you can actually make something good out of this. Okay, let's talk about Waystones, aka maps. I just want to give you a very, very obvious thing, but a lot of people don't do it. I just want to give you a couple of tips on how to make sure that you're actually crafting a decent map and how you can look for these decent maps where you can make tons of currency and have a higher chance of item drops and so on. The regular way you craft your maps, right? You take your map, obviously try not to invest much currency, especially exalted orbs, on any maps that is below level 15. Once you get to level 15, this is where you actually want to invest currency into your maps. So this is just a regular map with magic chest. Let me just wriggle it over here to see what's going on. Attack speed, movement speed, elementals, and etc. Now this is an interesting map because the suffix modifiers are not that bad for me. So I can just smash it with a few exiles and see if I get lucky and get some rarity or increased number of rare monsters. This is actually not too bad. We're getting to the tip. Did you know that you can actually distill your maps? And this is going to be available once you actually get to endgame. And once you start running, once you start running maps that are delirious, that have delirium, this icon over here. Once you start running these, and once you get to level 3 and 4, once the delirium ends, you will start getting these distilled, different distilled, right? And the way you use them, it's actually pretty simple. And let me actually show you over here, give you a couple of examples how I would do it. Each one of these would give you a different additional modifier on top of what you already have. So these over here, the maps just in general look a little bit different, the icon of the map. And as you can see, I already also have these additional modifiers on top of what I already have. This is a very, very nice way you could potentially, work on a waystone, right? And make it look great. Here is a level 14, for example. And once you've distilled, certain maps, you can also vol it, right? This can entirely rig your map or make it extremely way better. I don't know what happened here, but I just showed you that you can also vol it. Once you vol it, then it's game over. Whatever you have, great for you. If you don't have this now, not so great. But this is even though it's a level tier 14 map, it has really decent rarity of items found. Let me now show you how I would do it. Now, once you have the distills, you click on one of these and you open up your UI for distilling it. What I would do is I would take maps that have decent rolls on rarity of items found. This one has particularly 62%. And then I would use Distill of Greed. What you can do, the Distill of Greed is going to give you 8% increased rarity of the items in the area, adding another 8%. What you can do, you can either do 3 times the same one, so you can go up to 24% on the distills. Those are the regular distills, by the way. There's also distills that are way more rare and they are more powerful. That's not another topic. Here you can juice them up additionally, right? This is what I would do, and in this case this is what I'm gonna do with this one. So right now, on top of the 62%, I added another 24%, and I will make sure that I'm running this map somewhere where I've used a tablet, and I actually can use a tablet over here. Now all the next 9 maps that I'm using around this tower, boom, are gonna get now an additional 20% of rarity. So for example, I would use, no matter which node I'm using over here, right? I would use this map on a node that already has the additional modifiers. This is gonna be super juice. This is gonna have tons of item rarity in there. This means that probably there will be a lot of currency drop in there. So this is where usually I get, double divine drops in a single map, and etc. So always juice up your maps and distill them. Now I didn't talk about the different distills. Now you can have different distills. This is going to increase the pack size. This one is going to increase the magic monsters, amount of magic monster. So this already has magic monster 17%. So for example, I would not increase the pack size. I would increase the magic monster. So 60%. On top of the 17%, this map is going to be a magic monster map. Here is another recommendation that I can give you. If you are starting off, if you haven't played PoE 1, if you don't have any stash tabs at all, spend a little bit of money on stash tabs. And particularly get yourself the currency stash tab. Everything else, probably other than the currency and gem. Like gems is useful. I find every stash tab useful, but I'm telling you, those are the minimum one last thing that I need to tell you about stash tabs. Well, the premium stash tabs are the one that are required for you if you want to do any sort of trading. So if you want to do trading, you need to have a premium tab, which over here will give you the option to make a tab public. You can set a specific price for all the items. You can make prices individually. More about the trading, again, you can check over there in the link above for how to do trading. But basically, premium stash tabs are a must-have if you want to sell stuff. And the last but not least stash tab that is really, really useful is the quad stash tab. This is one of the more expensive one, but this is basically 4 stash tabs in one. So it's way more convenient to keep items in here. So go for it. All right, then I have 2 more tips for you. We're at tip number 10, but I'm also gonna give you one extra tip now. So one tip that I can give you is play with friends. Folks, play with friends. If you have a guild, play together, hang out. This game is so much more fun when you have somebody to talk to and share your experience, your knowledge, learn from them, get a hand here and there, or you give a hand here and there. The game is way more fun when you have a guild, a clan that you play together. If you don't have any, you can join my Discord, and I'm trying to rebuild a small PoE community so we can hang out over there and play together. You can always DM me and I can help you out with anything in the game, or vice versa. So play in a community, play with friends. And the last tip that I'm giving you for free basically is play the game and have fun. That's it. Have fun, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of the most important things about gaming. Don't forget why we do play video games in the first place. To have fun. If you stress out, if you get frustrated that you died 15 times from one of the act bosses or the pinnacle bosses or whatever, take a break, drink some tea, chill for a little bit. Don't be so harsh on yourself and go again, but have fun. I hope you like this one. If you do, make sure you let me know in the comments below, like, subscribe. And by the way, I am trying to get back to streaming on Twitch, so you can go and check me out on Twitch as well. I am live almost every single day, and I still have a few PoE early access keys to give away over there, so tune in, you might get a key. See you later, alligator.